So giving and receiving in Japanese, it's a tough one. I struggled with figuring out how I could explain this well because I think everyone struggles with this one when they first learn it. Maybe not everyone, I know I did, and looking at it like this on the screen, it's still kind of confusing. Let's just look at this way really quick and then I'll try and make it a little bit more simple for you. So we've got giver plus wa ga, either particle is fine. Receiver ni ageru, that means to give. Same thing plus kureru also means to give, but not to someone else. Like you can't use kureru when you give something to someone else. That's for when people give something to you or someone very close to you. It'll make sense in a minute, I promise. For morau, which is to receive, the receiver comes first, marked by wa and ga, and the giver comes next, and you mark them with ni or kara. Kara is actually, I feel better using kara with morau. Yuki also tends to use kara more with morau, but ni is also perfectly fine. Also, I didn't put this in the formula, but any item that you're giving will be marked with the o particle. So, for example, we'll get into that with the example sentences. Now, that's a little bit confusing. So I decided to make a chart to sort of help it make a little bit more sense. Now, this chart is pretty complicated, but you can see here I've got arrows like from you, ageru, so give a thing to this person. But if that person gives you something and you want to say give, you use kureru, so you need a different verb. Now, if you give someone close to you, use ageru, and if they give you something, you say kureru. Now, you can also use morau to say you receive something from someone. But before we jump into all that mess, let's go one by one like this. So this is me over here, just hanging out in the you section. So let's start with ageru, which is to give, right? From you. So you're going to give something to someone, or someone else is going to give something to someone. So I'm going to give an item to my close friend. So then I'm going to use ageru. Andy wa close friend ni ageru. I'm going to give something to someone random. Maybe someone I don't know very well or someone I've never met before. Andy wa random A ni ageru. Right? Now, if my close friend gives something to someone else, someone random, or even to another family member, close friend wa random B ni ageru, right? Now, if random person A and random person B are giving stuff back and forth to each other, we use ageru, only ageru. Just random people that we don't really know. We're just telling a story about how this friend gave something to that friend, not super close to you, like not family. You use ageru for always. It's always going to be ageru. So random A wa random B ni ageru. So random A gave something to random B. Random B wa random A ni ageru. So random B gave something to random A. So that's ageru, right? So these are the situations you can use. Give someone to someone random. You give someone to someone close to you or a relative. Someone close to you or a relative gives something to a random person, or random people giving stuff to each other. That's when you use ageru. All right. Moving on to some example sentences using this. We've got boku wa Yuki ni ocha wo ageta. So this is Yuki's over here. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha, right here, ocha wo ageta. I gave her tea. I gave Yuki tea. So we need ageru there, right? But unless they've already come up in the situation, you can pretty much safely assume that it's me. Yuki ni geimu wo ageru tsumori desu. I plan to give Yuki a game. So that's ageru. Following along? Kureru is simpler. Kureru is only in these situations. If someone random gives something to you, if someone random gives something to someone very close to you, like your wife or your children or your mother or father, something that you can sort of see as benefiting you because it's to someone so close to you. So if someone gives your family lots of money, well, that might benefit you as well. So you can use kureru. You can also use it when someone close gives something to you. So generally, things moving from the outside of your domain of competence into you in some way, shape, or form, you're using kureru to mean give. You can never use kureru outward, giving to someone else, outside of your circle of, I guess, competence or the people that you are very close to. You can't use kureru in that situation. And random people that you don't really know, you're not going to use kureru to say that they're giving stuff to each other. You're only going to use ageru. So giver は receiver にくれる。So, for example, random A は僕にくれる。So, random A gives something to me. Yuki は僕にくれる。Yuki gives something to me right here. Random B は close friend. Yuki に何かくれる. Give something to her. And also, all of these situations, the item that they're giving is going to be marked with the O particle. So let's go over some examples. So Yuki は Yuki's down here. 僕に so we're going this direction. お茶をくれた. Yuki gave me tea. So we went in that direction, right? Next is 誰か. So someone. 誰かが. Now we don't know who it is, so we're going to use が. We're not going to make them the topic of the sentence. We don't know who it is. が. Someone random. 誰かが Yuki に so Yuki's over here. 帽子をくれました. Someone gave Yuki a hat. Some random person. 両親が 両親 is parents, so we're over here. My parents in particular. 両親が we're over here. 僕に go in this direction. お金をあんまりくれない. My parents rarely give me money. Almost never. I would say never. So, 両親が僕にお金をあんまりくれない. So you can use it in the negative as well to say not give, of course, just like any verb. It's just like any verb. By the way, all of these, あげる, もらう is different, but あげる and くれる are conjugated like ichidan verbs. Okay. You're finding ToKini Andy helpful and you'd like to support, we have a Patreon. And on Patreon, we do things like textbook practice videos where Yuki and I are your partners. We do listening and shadowing videos for dialogues from this lesson and from the books as well. We've also got a merch store. There's a link right down in the description right now. And if you're a patron, there's also pretty big discounts right now. Free shipping and 15% off, I believe. And of course, one of the best ways you can help support this channel is by sharing these videos with anyone you know who might be studying Japanese. So that's enough of that. Okay, so now morau can be used in pretty much the same way as kureru in all the same situations. We can come from random person to close friend. Sorry that thing keeps popping up. We can go from a close friend into you or from a random person into you. Any way is fine, but the direction here is reversed. If we go back up to kureru, we've got giver first marked by wa or ga, receiver marked by ni. But for morau, we've got the receiver marked by wa or ga. They're the topic of the sentence. They're the main person who's receiving something. And the giver is who it's coming from. It's the direction it's coming from. So we mark them with ni. But more frequently, I feel like, at least where I live, kara. From. Kara means from, right? Ni can also just mean in a direction. But kara generally, this is the kara that means from. So it feels better, I feel like, to say kara when you're using morau. So let's just go over some examples right here. Andy wa random A kara morau. So I received something from random A. In this situation, we've got boku wa, so I'm the receiver. Close friend ni or kara morau. In this situation right here, we've got close friend or relative wa or ga, random B ni or kara morau in this direction, right? Morau can't be going outwards from you. Also, kureru can't be going outwards. So you can't say in Japanese that you received something from me. You can only say that you gave something from someone. Because you can't, think of it as perspective. Morau is from the perspective of yourself receiving something. The only reason you can use morau with a close friend or a relative is because you can be said to be able to see something from the perspective of someone who's really close to you. But you can't see something from the perspective necessarily, at least in Japanese, of someone who's not very, 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 very close to you. So you can't use morau in this direction. You can only see things from your own perspective, which means things coming towards you, kureru. You can see things coming at you and you can see yourself giving things to other people. But you can't see other people receiving things from you. That's not a perspective that makes sense in Japanese. I hope that makes sense the way I just explained that. But yeah, it's a matter of perspective. When you give someone to someone, you do that from your perspective. So that's how you need to describe it in Japanese. In English, we can mess around with that. We can mess around with perspectives. We can sort of manipulate them more. But you can't in Japanese. You can't do that. But suffice it to say that morau and kureru can be used in the exact same situations. If you look at the grayed out here section here, we've got kureru. So random person into me. Morau, same thing. Kureru, same thing. kureru. Same thing. Morau and kureru can be used in the exact same situations. It just depends on what you want to emphasize. The topic of kureru is the giver. And the topic of morau is the receiver. So which one is more important to you in that situation? Which one do you want to express more? Do you want to say you received something, or do you want to say that someone else gave something to you? So kureru will emphasize the person who's giving it. They're the topic of the sentence. So-and-so gave me this thing. Whereas the topic of a morau sentence is the receiver. In most situations, yourself. So I received something from so-and-so. So the more important part in that sentence is obviously marked by wa or ga, the receiver. So who do you want to emphasize? Do you want to emphasize the receiver or the giver? So that's how you're going to decide whether to use kureru or morau. Whereas ageru is always outgoing. It's between people. You can always use ageru if you're going to give something to someone. That's all you're going to use if you're giving things to people. You're never going to use kureru or morau if you're giving. And if someone that is really close to you is giving stuff to other people, you're always going to use ageru as well. Ageru never comes into you. It's always going out. And between people you don't know, if items are changing hands, always going to be ageru. So let's go over some morau sentences. They're actually the exact same sentences. We just reverse them so that we can use morau. So, boku wa Yuki ni or Yuki kara ocha wo moratta. I received tea from Yuki. So if you looked up at the kureru sentence, the topic of the sentence is Yuki. Yuki gave me tea. Yuki wa boku ni ocha wo kureta. So Yuki is the topic of that sentence. She gave me something. But in this sentence, I'm the topic. I was given something. I received something. Boku wa Yuki ni or kara ocha o moratta. So now I'm the topic of the sentence. Boku wa Yuki kara choko o moraitai. I want to receive chocolate from Yuki. Boku wa Yuki kara choco or chocoreto o moraitai. Chocoreto is often shortened to choco. I want to receive chocolate from Yuki. Next sentence is the same one as before, but 両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。My parents said they will receive money. So this is the sentence I was talking about before, basically. 両親がお金をもらおうと言っていた。My parents said they will receive money. So they're the topic of the sentence. Or they're not the topic, but they're the subject because they're marked by ga. They said they're going to get money. お金をもらう. So it's coming this direction, which is perfectly okay. This is so annoying. So it's a little bit weird. Hope that made it make a little bit more sense. Here's the big monstrosity, which is everything, which is a little bit harder to follow, but I got a few examples here, actually the exact same sentence, and I'm showing how you could express it using the different words. So, ageta. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha o ageta. So I gave Yuki tea, so that's right here. Boku wa Yuki ni. So I have to use ageta. I have to use ageru. I can't kureru or morau to people. I have to use ageru. It's going out. Now, Yuki wa, Yuki's the topic. Boku ni, so it's coming to me. Boku ni ocha wo kureta. So I have to use kureta because it's coming to me. Boku ni. If it was kara, you know that morau is going to come. You can't use kara with kureta. So Yuki wa, she's down here. Boku ni. So I have to use kureru. I have to use kureru. Kureta. I couldn't use morau here because Yuki wa boku ni ocha o morau. You can't use morau in the other direction to say that she got something from me. So it's got to be kureta. Boku wa Yuki ni ocha o moratta. I received tea from Yuki. So I'm the receiver. I'm the most important part in this sentence. Coming this direction. Yuki ni ocha o moratta. Or kara ocha o moratta. We're going this direction. I don't know how to make it much easier than that. I wish I could. The only thing I can say is that you need practice with it. The more you practice with it, the more easier it will become to understand. And maybe look at those charts a little bit and try to make sentences using them in the pattern. And I think you'll be able to get it, but it is confusing. So you just gotta practice. So let's go ahead and jump over into the dialogue. I'll read it slowly once, then at full speed, then we'll go into English and we'll go over the question. So, R さんからチョコレートもらいました。僕にもくれた。僕も R さんにもらった。社長にもあげたと思います。すごいね。多分、みんなにあげたかもしれない。Full speed. R さんからチョコレートもらいました。僕にもくれた。僕も R さんからにもらった。社長にもあげたと思います。すごいね。 多分みんなにあげたかもしれない。Let's go with the English. R さんからチョコレートを No, I dropped the particle. もらいました。Probably should have the particle there since it isn't a polite tone, but it happens sometimes. I received chocolate from Miss R. 僕にもくれた。She also gave me some. So we've dropped R-san from this. So the full sentence would be R-san は僕にもくれた. But because we've already had R-san in the previous sentence, you can drop it. As you always can in Japanese. にも to me as well. にも僕も R-san に or からもらった. I also received some from R-san. So in this situation, boku is now the topic. They're the main part of the sentence. I also received some from R-san. R-san からもらった. I also received some from Miss R. 社長にもあげたと思います. So 社長's not here. We're talking about 社長. So Miss R and 社長. If we go up and look at these circles, drop my face off the map. We go back and look at the circles. They're between each other. Two people that we don't know. Well, we know them, but it's not us. Two random people. So Yuki or R-san, I guess, and 社長. So we have to use ageru. Has to be ageru. 社長にもあげたと思います. I think she also gave some to the company president. 社長 is company president. すごいね. That's something else, eh? Or that's amazing. 多分also means maybe, and it often marks that a かもしれない is about to come at the end of the sentence. 多分みんなにあげたかもしれない. It's possible that she gave some to everyone. 多分 plus かもしれない. 多分 sort of marks that かもしれない is coming. 多分みんなにあげたかもしれない. It's possible that she gave some to everyone. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me about the last thing that you gave to someone. Tell me what is the last thing you gave to someone, anyone. So you're going to use ageru, obviously. I'll go back up to the examples so you can see what the pattern is. Tell me about the last thing you gave to someone and the last thing you received. You can use either morau or kureru.
ありがとうございます。
お疲れ様でした。
また次のビデオで会いましょうね。